Hello guys, welcome back to the One Auto channel. My name's Rob. Today I've got back in the Vauxhall Corsa D 1.2 petrol. This is the one that I changed the window glass and regulator on in a recent video. The guy said that he drove the car for about 10-15 minutes. Its water coolant light came on, checked it, and all the coolant had gone out of the reservoir. So he brought it over to me. I've had a quick look at it. I've put it up on jack stands. I found we've got a leak on the water pump down here, so I need to get that changed out. There's also a leak from the top pipe from the reservoir that goes around and onto the throttle body. That's leaking here and on top of the manifold, so we've got a couple of leaks there. So today we're just going to be changing out this water pump. The pipe is coming in a couple of days' time. I'll get that changed as well, and then once I've got that and the system sealed, we can get it all up to temperature just to make sure we haven't got any further leaks. So I'll take you along for the ride. Okay, we need to drain the coolant first of all. First thing to do, whip off the expansion bottle cap. This has had head gasket failure in the past. I can see sort of oil and crap residue in this bottle. If you really want to go to town, take it off, clean it out. So next thing, underneath on the radiator, you've got this drain valve, little 13mm. Let's have 13mm spanner on there. Get yourself a container underneath, ready to catch it all. And here it comes. Okay, that's about it. So you just need to shut that down and just nip it up. Don't kill it because you just got a plastic thread in the plastic thread. That's all we need. Right, up to the top now. Okay, airbox has got to come out. We need to just take this inlet pipe off here. And there's one just down here which just pulls off without a clip. And this should just pull out. There we go. Right, the setup with these water pumps is that we have to support the bottom of the engine because the pump's down here. This is the pulley, but you've got to take the engine mounting off to get at everything and remove the bolts. This top housing has to come off. There's some Torx bolts there. One's been changed down there to a normal bolt, and then I think we have to change over the coolant temperature sensor just here and remove this pipe. But so next thing I'm going to do now is, now the water's all drained out, I'm going to support the bottom of the engine with a jack with a block of wood on it, and then we'll get this engine mounting out the way. 3 bolts down here, and then it's a case of jacking it up, taking some bolts out, lowering it down, take some other bolts out, and then we can lift that up and out the way. Okay, jack's underneath the sump on a block of wood. Just take the weight a bit of the engine. Then we've got an E18 Torx socket. And we'll whip these two out here. There's one there. Stick them in the tin. Next is the E14, and we'll get this part engine mounting out of the way. Got 2 at the back. Let's put an extension on that. And that comes out of the way. This part of the mounting is bolted onto the engine with E14s as well, really close up against the chassis, so we just need to jack it up just to get to the top ones. That should do us. Get at one which is just down here out of shot, I think. Just swapped out that long ratchet for a little stumpy. That's it, now it's coming undone. it's not going to come all the way out, so it's out, so I'll just leave it there. There's the other ones, there's got one there. There we go, that one's out. I'll leave that one in there. There is one more underneath. While I'm under there, I can show you where it's leaking water. Right, just lower that jack down first of all. Let that engine come down. That should do us, hopefully. There we go, so there's the bottom pulley. And if you can see just up there, you can see the coolant, where that's been dripping off the bottom of that water pump. So anyway, the next engine mounting bolt we've got to take out is this one just here. There's the one I had done earlier, which is half out, and the one at the top's all the way out, so I've just got to crack that one on, get that mounting off. Get that on there. Push the engine over a bit. Lower it a little bit more. Come on. There we go. That's loose. Right, jack the engine back up. Now the engine's jacked up. You can't quite get this mounting out all the way. As you can with a bit of fettling. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo these three bolts here for the water pump pulley while it's tension. Crack these off, and then detension the belt, get that off, and then I'll be able to lift that up and out the way. Right, these shouldn't be too tight, so these you can just get a 10mm on these. Look, and just jab these undone. That one's a bit tighter. Let's bring that round. That's it. Should be able to jab it there. There we go. So I'll get this out. I'll just let a bit of slack off the belt. Like that. There you are. No need. Pops right off there. Get it off the alternator. Come on, boy. Off the crank, actually. That's easier. There you go. Lift that out of the way. And we should, bearing in mind, this belt runs through the, what do you call it, the mounting. It is a monstrosity. I'll lower it down there. That's it, down onto the floor. Okay, so with this mounting all out the way, we can see our pump. So the pump, as you can see, has been leaking down there with all that pink staining. Just looking at it carefully, it's been changed before. I can see a load of sealant all squidged out around the top of it. We've got 9 bolts in total to undo, all around it. And there's a little hidden one under there if you've never done one before. We've got a pipe there to take off, a housing just here to take off, and then there's this pipe here to take off as well. One on the top, and then the coolant temp sensor. Squeeze the old connector to get that off. You can't can really get enough room to get a spanner off to crack it undone, so I'll get that off and do that when that's off the vehicle. Okay, let's get some pliers on this small spring clip. Get that up out of the way. Let's see if we can't give that little wiggle and get it loose. Put a pick round it. There we are. Take that out of the way. Let's get the old spring clip pliers. That's it. Get that one off. That's it. Break the seal, and off that one comes. So the top pipe you don't actually have to disturb off the housing, you can get that undone. So we can undo that housing, move it out the way, and we can get at the top spring clip of that top hose. Right, these are an E10, these ones here on the housing. On that one there, little 8mm fits that one all right. And then that one's been replaced before with a little 10mm bolt. Spring clips in the way. Try it again. There we are. Let's move that out of the way a minute. See if I can get in there now with it. Yeah, boy. That's that. And out comes the thermostat. Okay. Right, just that last hose down there. Again, let's get it on there. So I moved it out of the way, and then I can get these ones on. That's it, it's easier to squeeze. Get that down the hose, let go of it. Just run a pick around the top just to break the seal again. And off that one is. So what do we got left? That's it. That's everything off. All the pipes, housing. Okay, let's get these bolts cracked and done. If you get the new pump, you can see where all the bolts are. So we've got one there, 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 and that's that hidden one I was saying, the little hidden gem, and that's where your thermostat housing goes off. That's the pipe I've just taken off. What a good tip, because these are different thicknesses, these flanges here. What you can do, now as you undo them and take them out, put them in the relative hole on the new pump, okay, and then you can then obviously take the pump off, swap them back, all the bolts back to the pump while it's resting there, and then as you're putting the bolts in, you know exactly which bolt went in which hole, and that's just in case the bolts are different lengths at all. Right, E10 on the old Milwaukee. There's the first one, right at the very bottom. There we go. That's the bottom bolt. Clean the silicone off it. Bloody hell, look at that one. That's actually loose. I hope the thread's not damaged. Looks alright. You see, obviously, massive different length to the first one I took out. I'm just going to put that back in just to make sure the threads are not shagged. No, it just obviously wasn't tightened up first time round. Is that one loose as well? Bloody is. Blimey. There's the old favourite. See, that's a short one. That's a longer one. That's that one. And then there's one at the top here. Like that. And then if all your bolt holes are filled up, you've got all the bolts out. So this has obviously been stuck on with a bit of silicone beforehand. There we go. Lovely. So is that leaking from that like cork? Whoa, chuck it away, boy. Is that leaking from the seal? Yeah, that's coming out the seal beforehand. Awesome. Right, shove a towel down there. Dry up some of that water. And then I'll just transfer. I've taken the coolant temp sensor out of there already. So I'll just transfer these bolts back in here and then I can screw it into there. And then next thing to do, I've just got to clear up some of the silicone mess down there. And some of these come with a metal gasket I've seen, different engines, but this has got like a paper gasket. So I normally do apply a little bit of silicone to it, just a tiny smear, if only, the light don't want to stay in place, if only just to keep the gasket in place, you know, when you're putting it all back on. That's that. Right, let's get that temp sensor in it. Right, that's mating surface is cleaned up. I'll just get, honestly, just a little smear of this sealant just around the outside, and that's just going to obviously seal, but it also helps just keep the gasket in place. It's a bit of a fiddly gasket with all them bolt holes, 9 bolt holes to line up. This thing also, when he brought it over, battery was flat as well. So it's got a scrapyard battery on, so I'll be changing that out as well, because it's shot, because I tested it. There we go. That's that. There we got the gasket. Oh, hold on. Let's do it right way around, Mobby. See, just holds it in place nicely. Like that. And then I'll just do the same around the outside of here and get the bolts in. That'll do. Right, let's get a bit more over there, that's it. Right, let's get a top. Let's get an easier sort of bolt to get to. We'll take that one, which is this one out, and pop that through and we'll line it up. Bugger. Right down there behind the crank pulley. Bloody typical. Come out. Let's get a magnet. God damn it. Ta-da. As you were. So, obviously got to tighten these down now. I think what I'm going to do here, I haven't looked up any tightening torques or sequences or whatever, but I'm just going to go around the centre of the pump area and then round to these outer bolts. And I'll start just by nipping each one down, just like that. And then we'll give it a bit more when they're all tight. This is probably what happened. Why those other two bolts, they probably weren't tightened when the other pump was installed. Okay, so so what I need to do now is just nip them all down, and I'm just going to look at the old pump for reference. So here we go. I'll start with those two. Click, click. Click, click. That's the top centre free. And we've got one down this side, just there. Click, click. And work your way around. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's it. All right, so put the bottom hose on. That's going to go on there first. Get the spring clip back in position. Get it on there. I like to get these spring clips back to where they originally been sitting, where they've indented the rubber itself. So I'll do it with those. And then move it round pretty good. I've had them before where you don't get the spring clip exactly where it used to be, and they can start leaking. Right, there is a rubber seal in this thermostat housing. It ain't brilliant, but we're just getting this thing back on the road for the guys. Hopefully it won't leak. I've just put a very small slither of the what do you call it on there, this sealant. I've just got to lower that down fractionally just to stop it stretching the pipe, so I've got it in the right position. That's it. I'm going to put the 10mm on there because it's easier to get at than when it was put down in the bottom there. Still a bit high, hold on. That's better. It doesn't like that hole. Let's try this one. Yeah, flying in. That's it. That's tight. Click, click. Click, click. Beautiful. Right. Let's jack it back up. Right, plug in my coolant temp sensor. Let's get this back hose back on here. Super, and then that one there. Splendid. Okay, I can't remember where I was because I've been interrupted by plumber ringing me because my central heating's packed up at home. I've just come back in the garage, I've jacked the engine right the way up because the next thing we need to do now is obviously we've got to put the belt back on, we've got to put the pulley on, we've got to get the engine mounting on. And because of the way it's designed, where the actual belt runs up inside this engine mounting, it makes it a little bit of a puzzle. So the easiest way I found to do it is get your belt, put it back on the same way, or fit yourself a new belt. Your top, what do you call it, your pulley is going to be there. Then you want to be going around the alternator, sort of loop it back round your tensioner, all the way around the tensioner, like a U shape, and down to the bottom pulley. Okay, get that in down the bottom there, and then that's where it's essentially going to be. But leave the crank off just a little bit to give you some slack. Okay, so when you're in that position there, you want to be getting this engine mounting back in. But if you remember when I took it out, I had to leave a bolt in. So I'm going to slide that in there ready, and then put it down and offer it up. So this part's got to go under that belt, and this belt has got to run through this part. So it's a bit of a puzzle. You can wiggle your way around it like that, and that's just gone in there. And then the bolt you've just put in, push it in like so, and then that's really going to be about it. That's in line. So what we need to do now is get the pulley. There's our bolts for it. put that in next. Lay the belt over the top. Line up the holes. And put your bolts in. It can be a bloody nightmare, to be honest, the first time you do one of these. I mean, the first one I did, it was like, I mean, I'm no good at puzzles anyway, but I mean, this was it drove me mad until I sort of worked out how I'm going to do it. But if you don't try it, you don't learn. Cool. And then just go around. I can't remember what size I said earlier on, but this was a E12. Right. So just hold your pulley, nip it up by hand, and then when the tension's on the belt afterwards, we just tighten them down. Like that. Then our other bolt can go in here, like so, and then we can get these started. And then obviously the final bolt that we've got left here is for the bottom. So I'll just tighten these down. We'll put the bottom one in, we'll tighten that down, and we'll tension this belt up. Okay, let's lower this engine down. Now them top two are tight. See, that should be enough. Yep, that's down enough for us. We'll be able to get this last bolt in. Get that tightened in. That's lovely. Okay, now we've got to get up onto this tensioner, which essentially is there. So we're going to need to get a spanner on this one, and then we can get it around the crank pulley. So either a Torx spanner or an 11mm should do the trick for us, just to push that back on there. Yeah, I'll put something over it maybe if I can do it. Let's have a go. Oh, nearly. Just need to put a bit of pipe on there to extend that. Yeah, jack handle pole on it. It's too long. No, here we go. There we go. I think they were on. Let tension off. Give it a check round. We should be there. Right, let's jack her back up again. And just check we are all on all around the pulleys, which we are, not touching anywhere. So now we can nip these up. Now it's all tensioned up. Right, back with the E12. Bit of tension on there. And we can nip those up. There we are, happy with that. Now get the mounting back on. Okay, move that out of the way. Put that on there. Let's get these smaller ones in place. So now for the final 2 bolts, so I'm just going to have to push it over a little touch. And over slightly, just to get them started. So they're started, so you can just play around with the engine and move it around to get it roughly where it was. And that is that. So, airbox to go on, which to be honest, I think I'm going to leave off because I've got to change this pipe just here, where it runs round. As I say, it was filling up a little well down there on the inlet manifold, where it's got a little pinhole in it. So that's coming in a couple of days, so I need to change all of that. And looking at it, to get at it, it's probably best if I just take this off of the throttle body just here. Just lift that up. So I'll put all that back together at the end. Once that's on, I'll come back to you. We'll refill the cooling system. I'll get it all bled up, and then hopefully that'll be the end of it. Okay, we're back, guys. It's been a week since the last time we were here. I've been working hard, working till about 7 at night, and on a dark and cold winter's night, I don't fancy coming down the garage to get anything done. So we are back, as I said. I've took this bottle off. I did wash it out with just with some water and then a load of brake cleaner. It's pretty stained, but all the gunk is out of it, so that's a good thing. The new pipe arrived that goes from the top of the reservoir there around to the back of the throttle body. I've put that on already. Airbox is back in. So now we've got to fill it with some coolant. I've got about 3 litres there of antifreeze, which I'll put in first, and then I'll add just normal water, and it will mix into the system while we're there. If you don't want to put it all in a watering can or whatever, mix it as you go. I've just taken out 1 screw just here, no sorry, just there, which I'll then turn that pipe round, and it shows us then the top of the radiator. There's like a bleed screw. So we want to crack that undone as we're filling the reservoir, and yeah, let's get some coolant in and see if we can get it fired up. I put the new battery on because the old one was knackered, so we're ready to go. Right, I've just removed that air ducting out of the way, just so we can get the camera in here. So down here, go down this little hole there, is the bleed screw. So we'll just crack that undone, and you'll see in it, there's actually like a groove. I don't know if you can see that, there's like a groove in there, so we'll just leave it a little way off so it's not quite sealed as we put the coolant in. So I'll leave the screwdriver there for the time being. Let's get this coolant filled up. See how much I can spill. Not too bad. What's happening? Anything down here yet? That's it, undo that a bit more, that's bubbling. And then what you can do is squeeze the hoses as well. You hear the bubbles coming up. We've got a bit coming out, we've got a few bubbles happening. Ready with a bit more. Right, I'll leave that going. I'm going to get some water to add to the reservoir now. There we go, it's coming out the top of the rad. Let's lock that off. A few little bubbles there still. There we go. Shut that down. Of course, when it comes out, obviously that's dribbled down, it's dripping all over the floor. I've locked it off. I tend to just get some plain water, wash it away. You're going to get a bit wet everywhere, and that way you're washing away the coolant. So when you start it up, you know if there's fresh coolant coming out of there. Right, so that's filled up to the level. This seam here is the maximum mark. Let's get the battery connected now. Right, like that. Nipped up to 10mm. Then we can get this bad boy fired up. It is a bit of a rattly engine. Timing chains are rattling. It looks like there's evidence that the timing chains have actually been done before, but so it's not here for that. That's on. Let's put the cap up out of the way. Ratchet and screwdriver for that. Okay, let's get this thing rolling. Oh, nice timing chain rattle. Quieten down a little bit. So now we've got to get this thing run up and get it up to temperature. As it's running up, leave the cap off and squeeze the hoses. Top one on the bottom one. And I need this thermostat to open. Run it up to temperature, get it warm, get it so the fan actually cuts in, and we can check our levels then. And of course the other thing is make sure your heater setting goes to hot. I've just got that at fan speed 1, and it'll just let everything circulate all around the heater matrix as well. Just help it along. Where are we? Still about halfway. Nothing really hot yet. That's not opened. Give it a squeeze. Can't see any leaks at the minute. Hopefully I'm not going to. That's dry around the bleed valve. Just a bit on the block down there where I splashed the water to clear it all off. So far so good. Right, so it's been about 15 minutes. Just letting it idle, giving it a couple of thousand revs on the throttle, and it's gradually warmed up. But that thermostat now has opened. You can see the steam coming here from the, well, hopefully you can, the steam coming up from the water that's on the radiator, so that's flowing through the rad now. And if I put my hands there, yeah, the fan's not on and that rad's getting toasty. Water level hasn't dropped. I'll give it a few more revs. I'll pop the cap back on, let the system pressurise, and see if we can't get that fan cut in. I've got no leaks anywhere, and so it's looking good. Looking good. This smells of antifreeze. I can't smell any emissions, which is good, so the head gasket should be good. Right, we'll let that pressurise up. It's all getting nice and toasty. Right, I'll get this air duct back on. And there we go. Fan's cut in. Happy days. A bit of a road test and see how we go. Lovely jubbly. There we go, back off a road test. Just brought this one back in, checked the levels and all is well. That is how you do your water pump on your Corsa D 1.2 petrol. If the video was of use to you, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget, if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so, and ring that bell notification to let you know when I bring out some more videos. And don't forget, you can connect to me on Twitter and on Instagram. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.